Hello, welcome to Web of Stories. My name is Melinda, and it's March, and it's Monday. And I know we're halfway through March, but I just kind of figured this out. We're learning as we go. I'm going to do Mondays on the moors. So I'm going to save my Brontë stuff for Monday videos. And so, yeah, it's Monday. It's our first one. I realized it took me half the month to figure that out. And of course, we're going to start with a t-shirt check. This has, oh, let me see if I can read it. Whatever our souls are made of, his and mine are the same, from Wuthering Heights. I like this shirt. I hate the color. I had to throw this cardigan on or else like I fade into the wall in boring corners. So I don't know why I ordered this color. I don't like the color, but I like the shirt. Anyway, that was the t-shirt thing. And I am here with two books today. One is a review and one is not. So one of the prompts for March on the Moors, if you choose to do the prompts, you are not obligated to. You just, it's not an obligation, was to read a biography of a Brontë or the Brontes. And I had ordered a copy of an Anne Brontë biography from Bookshop. It is still back ordered, and I honestly don't think I'm going to get this book. I think I'm going to be refunded for it. It happens. I haven't looked into it. I might possibly be able to get it through Blackwell's. I'll look at that. Once I figure out what's happening with my Bookshop order, if I do get refunded, then I'll go see if I can get it through Blackwell's. I wasn't able to find it thrift books or anywhere else. So when I realized that was a no-go, I went to my library and I put a hold on two Brontë biographies. And the first one is the one I've read. And it is this one, The Brontes, Children of the Moors by Mick, illustrated by Britta Granström. So this is clearly a picture book. So we are clearly juvenile literature. This is not a picture book for young children. I'm including this also middle grade March because this is clearly for older middle grade kids. The way this book is set up, so it has narration and some other stuff. It's not an easy book to read aloud. It's really a book for kids to read on their own. And it's very nicely illustrated and it's sort of, I think, kind of cartoony to me. I don't mean that in a bad term. I mean cartoony. So, it's a biography of the Brontes, pretty straight up. The way it starts, and this is true, in the 60s, I think, the BBC did an adaptation of Wuthering Heights, and Mick, who's the author of this book, was hired to play an extra. He plays like a boy who's scared of a ghost. And so he used that experience as the basis of starting this book. So it starts with him as a little boy. He's there in Haworth on the moors filming this show, and he goes somewhere to take a nap. And he wakes up and there's this woman next to him, and it's Charlotte Brontë beyond the grave. And she tells them her life. So very straightforward there. And yes, this is from Charlotte's point of view. And it is Charlotte-centric. I do wish it was a little less Charlotte-centric, but look, she lived longer than the rest of them. So there you go. And it goes through their life. Now, I enjoyed this. I think he did a good job, as best as he could for age level reading. I do have, well, my big question after reading this, and I don't mean this in a book banny kind of way, but should kids read this book? So the reason I ask this is because the Brontes don't have a very juvenile fiction-ish life. Some bad things happened in their lives, and how is he going to handle that? Also, in this, I'm not going to show that one. I'll show this one. In this, they do these little storyboard. This is Wuthering Heights because it's most confusing. That's why I'm showing it. These little storyboard summaries of 3 of the books. The first one is Jane Eyre, and I didn't show it because, yes, Angelia, it spoils Jane Eyre. So whatever. Jane Eyre, I get why you did Jane Eyre. That's Charlotte Bronte's most famous book, and it is her best book. It just is. And then I get Wuthering Heights, even though Wuthering Heights is very much not a kid's story. It's the only book Emily wrote. I get it. But then for Anne, they do The Tenant of Wildfell Hall. And I'm like, why? Why would you do that one? You could have done Agnes Grey. The Tenant of Wildfell Hall is an adult story. It deals with domestic abuse and all these things. And it's in a picture book. And Agnes Grey, I think, is a much more, and I'm rereading it right now. That's a book that's going to appeal to, I don't want to say it's a younger, it's not a middle grade book. It's not a YA book, but I just think that it's a good place to start with the Brontes. I think for maybe a slightly younger audience, it might be more accessible, but The Tenant of Wildfell Hall, which is my favorite Bronte, so don't get me wrong, I love that book. I'm just like, in a picture book? So the other thing is, clearly they had to soften some things, most notably Branwell. And Branwell's a tricky character because Branwell, of course, was not an author. There are no books by Branwell Bronte, but he was an influence on their novels, especially on The Tenant of Wildfell Hall, probably most notably. But yeah, he's a problematic character. You can't tell the story of the Brontes without including Branwell. Oh, I do want to show this one illustration. This is when Anne and Charlotte go to London to show them that Kerr and Acton and Ellis in absentia are actually women. And look how tiny they are. That's accurate. Charlotte Bronte was only something like 4'10". She was she was very small. And I don't think her sisters were much bigger. Anyway, that stood out to me. You can't tell the story of the Brontes without including Branwell. And there's two big issues with Branwell, neither of which are picture book fodder. The first is he had gotten a job as a tutor with a family where Anne was the governess. And Anne was very happy in this position. But as it says, this is how it's written in the book. All seemed to go well, perhaps too well, for in the summer of 1845, a secret came to light. Our charming brother Branwell had been flirting with Mrs. Robinson. Imagine Anne's embarrassment. She and Branwell left their employers and came home to Haworth, bringing Flossie, that's a dog, with them. Flirting, that's a way to put it. Flirting, doing the horizontal lambada in the stable is also a way of putting it. It was flirt. There's flirting. I mean, and I get it. This is kids, but I'm like, the other thing with that, and I have read differing things. I'm trying to get straight on this. Branwell had a very serious substance abuse problem, and it did lead to his death, at least played a part in it. And a couple sources I've read, and I've read both ways, so I'm not sure if this is true, have said that it started after him being fired from the Robinsons and he was heartbroken and all that. So the flirting thing, it just seemed very strange to me. I almost kind of wish that little bit about Branwell hadn't been included. And then of course they talk about Branwell's death, which again, they did what they had to do. He died of tuberculosis, and yes, he probably more accurately, he died with tuberculosis. He died of basically substance abuse or withdrawals and tuberculosis. So it was the whole Branwell element is a very big part in the Brontes, but in their life, but it's a very hard thing to put into a children's book. So this to me is probably an older elementary book, and I didn't really know what an older elementary kid would think of it. And I don't have any older elementary children in my immediate life I could hand this book to and say, please read and tell me what you think. But I do have a 16-year-old daughter, so and she has lots of opinions. So I handed this book to her and I said, what do you think of it? And so she started reading it. And the first thing she said was, there are a lot of words in this book. And it is a very word dense picture book. And so I think that because this is not a book that's really set up to be a read aloud, the density of the words might be a turnoff to a lot of kids. But yeah, so then I asked her, okay, that's good. And she's like, did you find it interesting? And she's like, yeah, I guess so. And I said, are there any of the books that you would like to read, of the ones that were outlined in here? And she said, yeah, I want to read Wuthering Heights. And I said, okay. As soon as she finishes reading her Uncle Stevie books, she's reading Salem's Lot right now. Maybe we'll move on to Wuthering Heights. She's actually going to start her IB ELA classes next year, and I'm sure that a Bronte is going to cross her path in that. But I was very surprised that Wuthering Heights was the one that she chose. And I asked her what she thought of the other ones, and she said Jane Eyre seemed a little crazy, and The Tenant of Wildfell Hall seemed a little scary, but she liked Wuthering Heights. So, and that is just based on the storyboards in here. She doesn't know anything more about the stories. So that's like a kid-ish opinion of it. I do think it's a good book. I think they did the best they possibly could with it. It's just that there's some roadblocks with it. Would I recommend this? If you have you know, an upper elementary, middle school kid who's interested in like women's history or women writers and is at the right reading level, because this is a higher reading level picture book, then yes. But it's not one I would just hand out to any kid. So this book, we're going to say, fulfills my prompt for the biography. Because the other one I got, I did not know, was 900. The text is, let me see what the text is, 980 pages long. The book itself is 1,100 pages long. I did not know that. It is 979 pages of text. So it is a mammoth. I was not planning to do March of the Mammoths, but now I am. I'm going to read this one. I'm not going to have this book finished in March. I'm not even sure I'm going to have it finished in April at this point. But there you go. I have started reading it though, and this is a library book. But I read the first chapter just to see what I thought of it. Is this going to be a biography that I'm going to be interested in reading? And it was. I thought the first chapter was, I mean, it's very accessibly written, and I think it's going to be very interesting. From what I understand, this is sort of the Brontë Bible. It's sort of the definitive biography that's out there right now of the family. So what I did was I went onto Thrift Books and I found a paperback copy that I have ordered to replace this for a couple reasons. One is, I have a 3-week loan. It's going to take me longer than 3 weeks to read this. I'm basically just reading one chapter a day. And if I skip a day because I have to read other stuff, that's fine too. You know, let me see if I can see how many chapters there are. There's 28 chapters. So I guess, you know, I couldn't even finish it in March if I did a chapter a day. There's that. There's also, so I don't know if I couldn't finish it the way I'm reading it within the library loan period. And there's never a guarantee you can renew a book. So that's always a possibility. I didn't want to get, you know, 2/3 of the way in and then have to turn the book back in. Also, this is a hard book to read because it's heavy. It is heavy. It is big and it's a hardcover. It's also the binding on it. This book has been well loved at the library, but it's falling apart. So I'm just going to stick with this copy until the copy. And also, finally, this is a book I'm going to want on my shelves. So yeah, I'm going to want this book on my shelves. So I'm going to stick with this copy until my Thrift Books copy comes in, and then I will switch to that one. But this is my mammoth now for March of the Mammoths, even though I'm not finishing it in March. Also, you know, I'm going to be out of town in later March, and I don't bring library books with me when I go out of town. I don't even know if I'm going to bring my own copy just because of the size. We'll see. So that would push me back even more, and that's fine. It's okay, whatever. So that's what's going on with this one. I will do a full review of this when I finish it, which will not be in March. So it'll just be a standalone kind of standalone review video when I do it. But yeah, so the full title of this one, by the way, is The Brontes, Wild Genius on the Moors, The Story of a Literary Family by Juliet Barker. I believe Juliet Barker has 2 books out on the Brontes. When I was looking for this book, another book popped up and I couldn't tell if it was just this book of a different cover because it didn't have the subtitle on it and it didn't have any other real information that I could tell. But yeah, this is actually a book I've been wanting to read for a while. I just never did, and now I am. So yeah, there you go. There's my mammoth. I am doing March of the Mammoths after all. Anyway, that's my Brontë update for this week. Next week, I'm hoping that next Monday, I will have a review of Here on Earth by Alice Hoffman, at least that. But we'll see. I'm also going to do sort of a quick, and I've kind of done this, but I'm going to do my official video, what I think of all the Brontë novels. That's probably going to be the last Monday of the month. So stay tuned for that. T-shirt, you're probably not going to see this t-shirt again. It also kind of looks like the hand is giving you the finger. I just wish I'd gotten this in a different color, and it's getting hot. So I got to take this cardigan off. Like, subscribe, join my Discord, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.